Welcome to Trinity Wesleyan Church Online. We are glad to have you here today. I'm Pastor Aaron, and we know that God is speaking to you today and will continue to speak to you through His Word today. Please join us, and we'll begin in just a few moments.
You can be rich, but if you're without God, what do you have? You have nothing. The Apostle Paul wrote to Timothy and said, instruct those that are rich in this world's goods, not to be proud. Don't fix your hopes on the uncertain things that money can buy. Fix your hope on God. Jesus said, seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Put God first. God will take care of the rest. But if you put money and pleasure and power first, you're going to be deceived. You're going to come up empty. You're going to come up short-handed.
In Isaiah chapter 43, it says these words. It says, forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. And so we hear this passage, and we ask ourselves this question: why forget the former things? Why is that something that God is telling the prophet Isaiah to tell the people of Israel to forget those things? What new thing is going to be happening? And as we talk almost every single week, it's location, location, location. It's all about what's around it. Jen and I, when we were looking at houses to buy, after we sold our house in Indiana, we were looking at houses to buy. There were some places that were good houses, but they weren't around great things. One of the houses we looked at was right next to train tracks. So how many times a day are you going to want to hear train tracks going, or the rumble and the shaking? That wouldn't be good for your house either. Or there was another house where we looked at one and we liked it, but it was directly across from the fire hall. Yes, it is a good thing in case you have a fire, but you're also going to hear everyone else's emergencies all times throughout the day and night. It's about what's around it. So we go to the beginning of chapter 43 in verse 1, and God says, He says, but now this is what the Lord says. He who created you, Jacob, He who formed you, Israel, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. I give Egypt for your ransom, Cush and Seba in your stead. Since you are precious and honored in my sight, and because I love you, I will give people in exchange for you, nations in exchange for your life. And so we read this, and if you just read it at face value and just cherry pick verses out, you'd be like, okay, so I can walk through fire and I'm not going to be burned. Or I can walk through the Niagara River and I'm not going to be swept down the falls. Like, if you read it just like that, but you have to put all of it into context. And so God is telling Isaiah to tell Israel, like, I am giving up myself for you. I'm going to be ransoming others for you because you're precious in my sight. And then so when we get to the further part, he says, forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I'm doing a new thing. It's not about the things that have happened, but it's the thing that I'm going to do. I am going to ransom you. You're going to be saved. The question that comes up is, what do you think the difference is between those who are fulfilled in life and are not? What do you think the biggest difference is between those who are fulfilled in life and those who are not? Those who are fulfilled may have a great relationship with their family, their spouse, their kids, extended family, their friends. Those who are fulfilled in life may be fulfilled financially. It looks like they have retirement. They got 401ks. They have all the right investments. Or they have a meaningful ministry. They're doing everything that God is asking them to do. He's blessing it. They have a fulfilled love life personally between them and their spouse. They have everything, and it looks like they are fulfilled in life. That's what we see, and that's what people strive for. If I have money, if I have power, if I have fame, if I have these things, that I'm going to be fulfilled. But you look at the rest of the world, they're also looking for this. Those who are not Christians, they're also looking for the same things. The rest of the world is struggling with relationships. They're struggling financially. They're struggling. They're feeling empty. They don't have anyone to feel like they are committed to or attached to in life. But it's not about having intelligence. It's not about having talent. It's not about your appearance, whether how good or how good you don't think you look. There's so many smart people that are miserable. There's so many people who have the fame and accolades, but they're miserable. They're missing something in their life. I was watching an interview this past week. Rainn Wilson, who plays Dwight Schrute on The Office, he was talking to this guy about how, like, if I had dreams when I was 16 years old and I said, this is what I want to be acting, I want to have great friends, I want to be making money, I want to be famous. And he looked back and he had all of those things after The Office and after all these projects that he had done. But he looks back and he says, but I wasn't fulfilled. And so right now he's searching and going back through, like, okay, what is faith? What is religion? Who is God? Like, just because you have those things doesn't make it perfect. I mean, you think of Robin Williams. He's one of the funniest people that have been on this planet. And he was always cracking jokes. He was always having fun. Everybody loved his movies. I mean, you think about Mrs. Doubtfire. You think of Patch Adams. You think of all these different movies. And people just thought he was the most joyful person. But he was depressed. Committed suicide. Just because you have those things on the surface doesn't mean that you're fulfilled in life. There's talented people who are now broke. There's the American Idol singer. Her name is Samantha Diaz. And she won American Idol in 2020 during the pandemic when nobody had anything to do. So everybody's probably watching American Idol. But she won in 2020. And there's a report that just came out that said, like, she's singing in the subways to make ends meet now, even though she won $250,000 and got a record deal. All that is gone. She's missed that. And so now she's singing to make ends meet in the subways in New York. There's a guy, his name is Delonte West. He played in the NBA. He played for the Dallas Mavericks. Played for a couple seasons, and Mark Cuban, the owner, was driving around. He goes, hey, Delonte, like, he's looking at this guy. Is that him? He's homeless. He squandered all of his money. He was hopped up on drugs. He was doing all the wrong things. Just because you get to that point doesn't mean that you're fulfilled in life. Just because you have money, fame, accolades doesn't mean that you are fulfilled. I've been watching this TV show called Below Deck. And it's a show about super yachting and the crew, and it's dramatic. I usually don't watch, like, dramatic TV shows. But these two people start dating. One of them gets clingy. The other doesn't want to talk about their feelings. It's getting very dramatic right now. I'm about over it because it's too much drama for me. But if one would just talk about their feelings and the other one would just be upfront with how they're feeling and what they want to do next, like, they're missing something. Just because people look like they have it together doesn't mean that they have it together. But what's the difference between people who are fulfilled in life and people who are not? Number one, it comes down to decisions. It comes down to decisions that they make. For us, we know as Christians, if we follow the decisions that God is telling us to make, we're going to be more fulfilled in life. If we follow the commandments that he tells us, we're going to be more fulfilled in life. But those who aren't making the right decisions are not as fulfilled in life. Those who are following God, those who are following, let's just say, religion from the studies that I was reading, that if you're following God, if you're following his commands, that they are more fulfilled in life than those who are not, even if they have more money, more fame, more anything. The quality of your decisions determines the quality of your life. Like, you can make decisions flippant. You can make decisions anytime you want. You're making a decision right now to keep listening to me. And I hope you would keep listening, because I got more good things to say. But the quality of your decisions makes the quality of your life. Like, you can't just make a decision and be like, okay, this looks like I'm going to have more money. If I see this and I'm only striving towards money, and you make a decision that is logical and you're only focusing on money, that may just be the bigger number at that point. But you could lose everything. Or you make a decision in your relationship and you're like, I want to get married to this person. You're like 2 weeks in, that puppy love stage. You're like, we're getting married. I found the love of my life. This is what's going to happen. But you haven't even gotten into any arguments. You haven't gotten into any frustrations or pet peeves you may have about the other person. It's the quality of your decisions, not just making flippant decisions, but making quality decisions that give you a fulfilled quality of life. But the problem is, we're not great decision makers. We're not great decision makers. We eat more than we should. We buy things we can't afford. We say things that we regret, especially in arguments. Sorry, Jen, if I ever have. We don't want to do things. We hurt people we love. We do things we don't want to do. We don't do the things we do want to do. Like, we're bad decision makers. So let's start out with 3 reasons why we struggle to make good decisions. The first one is that we are overwhelmed with choices. We're overwhelmed with choices. Studies say that you make 35,000 choices per day on average. 35,000, not 3,500, not 35,000 choices a day. Some of them are subconscious, like to breathe or hold your breath if you're changing a diaper. Some of them are, am I going to use the restroom now? Am I going to eat later? Am I going to do this right now? Am I going to procrastinate? Am I going to get something done? Am I going to merge into this lane? Am I going to honk at this person because they're sitting at the light texting? What am I going to wear today? You think about, you can just spiral and think about all the choices you have to make. Am I going to step around this toy or step over this toy? Am I going to trip over it on accident or not? Like, we have nonstop decision making that happens all throughout our day. All day long. What we wear, what we're going to eat, what we're going to say or see, what we're going to binge on TV, what social media we're going to be on, how long we're going to be on it, if we're on it for too long. We have so many decisions to make throughout the day. But you think about 35,000 decisions, how many of those are honoring to God? The first reason we struggle with making good decisions is we have so many choices. There's too many decisions. A cognitive scientist went to restaurants to study decision making, because that's where a lot of our decisions come from, is eating, when I'm going to eat, all that stuff. But what he came down to after studying restaurants and choices within restaurants is that most restaurants give decision fatigue. They give decision fatigue. There's so many choices that you can make that you become overwhelmed and exhausted by the amount of decisions you have to make. And you learn 2 things in this. As the volume of decisions increase, the quality of decisions decrease. With more decisions you have to make, the quality of those decisions decrease. You have too many decisions to choose from. So you go to a restaurant and you're looking and you're like looking through, and there's so many decisions. This reminds me of like IHOP. This reminds me of Denny's. This reminds me of a lot of places. Like you get a menu that is pages long and you're flipping through. Cracker Barrel. Oh my goodness. So many decisions. So many good decisions. But there's so many decisions to make. Do I want this? Do I want this? Do I want lunch? Do I want breakfast? Do I want dinner? What do I want? There's so many decisions to make, and the server's going around asking everybody what they want, and most people are like, okay, come back to me. I'm not ready yet. And you finally get to you. You're the last person. Okay, I'm the last person. I'll just choose this. And you just pick something. You're like, It's between like 4 or 5 things. You're like, I'll just do this. And so we make worse decisions when there's more decisions to be made, more choices that to be had. You think about this. How long does it take to order from IHOP versus Chipotle? IHOP, you could be there, you could be looking at the menu 5-10 minutes. That's pretty typical at a sit-down restaurant like that. 5 to 10 minutes, you're looking through. Do you need some time to look over the menu? Yes, I didn't know I was going to be reading all day today. Or you go into Chipotle, how long does it take to order at Chipotle? Number one, they make the food in front of you. It's ready for you. We'll talk about that more later. But as the volume of decisions increase, the quality of decisions decrease. The second thing that this cognitive scientist learned is that the more options, the less quality is served. The more options that are had by the restaurant, the less quality that is served. So you think about a place you go to. I see a lot of mom and pop shops, and I love hole-in-the-wall restaurants. But you go to a lot of those places that are not, let's say, chain restaurants. The likelihood is that they want to have everything so that you're going to spend more money. Oh, if I can go there and get pizza, that would be great. But also, I could go for pancakes, and I could go for this. And like, they want all the decisions there, but they actually find that people make decisions and spend less money because there's so many decisions to make. They're exhausted by it. So the more options that they have, let's have pizza, let's have spaghetti, let's have waffles, let's have chicken and waffles, let's have salad, let's have all these different things. They can't make all those things fresh. And so the quality that is served is way less than what it would be if there was less decisions to be made. The more options that there are, the less quality that is served. What are the most popular restaurants right now? You think about it right now. What is becoming like high capacity, those fast growing restaurants that are happening right now? The biggest growth in restaurants is fast casual food. It's not McDonald's, it's not Subway, it's fast casual food. I call it the Subway model because you go through, they're making it in front of you, and they shoot you out the end. So first you go in, okay, what kind of bread do you want? Italian loaf, got it. What do you want on it? I'm going to do the turkey club, okay? So they put their meat, they put the toppings on, they put the seasonings on, they wrap it up and send you out the door. Qdoba, you go in. You want a bowl or burrito? Burrito, okay. You want meat? Yes, I want steak. What do you want on it? I want lettuce, cheese, corn. Let's go. That's it. Five Guys, you go in. Do you want a burger, a cheeseburger, a bacon cheeseburger, or a hot dog? Okay, I'm going to get a bacon cheeseburger. What do you want on it? Lettuce, pickles, mustard, A1 sauce. Out the door. Fast food establishments are trimming down their menus to become more like fast casual restaurants because they're losing market share because there's too much decisions to be made. 15 years ago, I worked at McDonald's. And when I worked at McDonald's, there were so many good things I wish they would bring back, but they took them off the menu. 15 years ago, I remember working there. There was over 20 combos. I think we had 21 different combos. Now today, there are 9 combos at most McDonald's. They've trimmed their menu down in half because there is too much decision fatigue. So we are overwhelmed with choices. We're overwhelmed with choices. And so we come home, we're making hard decisions all day. We're working. People are mad at us. People are happy with us. We're doing the right things. People are mad at us. We made the wrong decisions. You come home. I've been making hard decisions all day. I don't want to do this anymore. You come home and what do? I'll eat anything. I don't even care. It's not even have to be good. And you just keep eating and eating because you're tired from all the decisions you had to make that day. You make wise financial choices for 2 weeks. You're like, okay, I'm not going to go out to eat. I'm not going to go shopping. I'm not going to do these things. And then after 2 weeks, you're like, I'm exhausted. I just want to buy something, be irresponsible. So you make a stupid impulse buy. we're overwhelmed with choices. And when we're overwhelmed with choices, we make the wrong decision. Number 2, why do we struggle to make good decisions? Number 2 is we're afraid of making the wrong choice. We're afraid of making the wrong choice, so we don't make good decisions. The one that we hear about in church is, I'm afraid I'm going to miss God's will. I'm afraid that if I don't pick the right school, that God's not going to help me through life. That if I pick the wrong thing, that God's going to be like, you didn't listen, bye. Or I didn't pick the right job or the right house, or I didn't pick the right spouse. But a lot of those, in those decisions that you're making, if you're honoring God, that it may come down to a couple of choices. My brother's been looking for a new job as they move to Florida. And sometimes as I'm thinking about this, there's multiple decisions that you can make. My sister-in-law, Emily, has multiple job offers to teach at a school. And sometimes it comes down to this, where God is saying, okay, these are acceptable for me. This would be outside of my will. And these ones are the ones that you can make. If you keep it within this certain parameters that I said are good, and I'm not giving you a for sure decision on any of these, you're free to choose within these choices. But the ones that are outside of God's will, the ones that are not honoring to Him, the ones that focus on yourself, you would be missing God's will. But we're afraid of making the wrong choice. And so since we aren't sure and we're like, God, I'm not hearing from you. I don't want to miss your will. We don't make any decision. But if we don't make a decision, we're making a decision. Instead of making a decision, we're becoming indecisive. And so we sit and we wait and nothing happens. But indecision is the enemy of progress. If you're going to grow, if you're going to learn, sometimes you got to make decisions. Colin Powell says if you have 80% of the information, you have too much information, you've already missed the window. I'm butchering that quote. But you've already missed the window to make a decision. There's some times where you just have to go on a decision, go on a gut feeling that it feels right, I don't know. But indecision is a decision that we make. And when we're afraid of making the wrong choice, that we just wait and do nothing. And we make no choice and we progress no further. The third reason that we struggle to make good decisions is that we let emotions overrule logic. You go into TJ Maxx, you go in for a shirt, and when I go into TJ Maxx, I either go in and I buy nothing, or I spend $200. There's no in between. And I go in there, I buy stuff, and there's like $200, and I come in, I'm like, I didn't even want any of this stuff. I didn't even come in for this stuff. But we let our emotions overrule logic. You think about this when car salesmen are talking to you. They don't give you time for logic on purpose. They want you to make an emotional decision. Now, Jen and I are not emotional buyers. Jen is even less emotional buyer than me. So imagine the dismay when the salesperson shows me a truck after my car was totaled. It has a built-in ice cooler. He's like, you could go tailgating. I'm like, I've never done that in my life. You could go fishing. I don't like fishing. And so here's our reaction when he shows us. Jen and I look at each other. We're like, it's got more room for storage. We're like, I don't care about the ice thing. I don't care about putting a cooler in the back of the truck. But I'm like, okay, I got a place to put the hitch when I'm not using it. I have a place to put the life jackets. I have a place to do these things. Like, we think logically when we make decisions. But when decisions overrule logic, you make the decision you didn't want to make. You overanalyze what doesn't matter. And when it comes to important decisions that you react in the moment, that you react with your emotions first, your kid upsets you and everybody says like, I'm going to be patient with my kids. And then you have a point where your kids come up to you and they've been bothering you all day. You're like, I don't care what decision, just do something. Like that's reacting in emotion. Like, logically, I want to be patient. I want to be kind. I want to do the right thing. And sometimes those kids get on your nerves and you're like, all right, it's about to go down. Or you get into an unexpected temptation, you say, logically, that's not wise for me to do. But emotion says, oh, you deserve it. You've been working hard. You can do this. So often the emotional decisions hurt us the most. So we can't make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. The quality of our decisions determine the quality of our lives. And one of the best ways to live forward-thinking, people-loving, and God-glorifying life is to decide before what you will do later. Decide before what you're going to do later. And what this series we're calling Pre-Decide is the power of pre-deciding. As followers of Christ, we ask God to help us pre-decide what we're going to do. In Proverbs, that was written by King Solomon, he wrote all these Proverbs, this book of wisdom. In Proverbs chapter 16, verse 3, it says, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. So with God's help, we will determine the course of action before the moment of decision. When I am faced with yelling at my kids or not, I have pre-decided that I'm going to be patient, that I'm going to be loving, that I'm going to be kind, that I'm going to be gentle. I'm going to do these things, but we have to ask God to help us, because a lot of times our emotions get the best of us. When I am faced with temptation, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my phone away. I'm going to put my credit card away. I'm going to do all these different things. I'm pre-deciding to make a decision, and the emotional decisions that we could make that logically and spiritually helps us to make the best decision. I have pre-decided to make the God-honoring decision. And so when you get to that decision, it's not like, am I going to act logically or emotionally? I've pre-decided to follow God in this situation. It makes it easier because you've already decided what you're going to do. When you're tempted to make an impulse purchase, you're like, okay, I'm going to wait 3 days. If this salesperson really wants a sale, they don't have to make it today. Oh, but there's no other vehicle like this. There will be. Or you're worried. You pre-decide that when I'm worried or when I'm anxious, I'm going to take this burden to God instead of going to unhealthy coping mechanisms. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You pray for them to go to heaven. You pray for them to God, for God to speak to them instead of giving them the finger or yelling at them or honking at them. I have pre-decided to make a decision that is honoring to God. I'm going to go through these quickly. You don't have to turn there, but in Genesis chapter 22, God told Abraham to offer his son Isaac to sacrifice him. And he pre-decided that he was going to trust God. I'm going to sacrifice my son for God. But God said that he would help me, that he would have a sacrifice. What happened when Abraham pre-decided? Abraham went up the mountain. He didn't have a sacrifice. He was getting ready to sacrifice his son, and God said, wait. And there was a ram caught in a bush, and he sacrificed that ram. When Daniel and his friends, they were taken to a foreign land, they were going to be brainwashed by all these people. What happened? Daniel said, I'm going to follow God. It doesn't matter what they're going to tell me. It doesn't matter what they want to trick me into. It says in Daniel chapter 1, verse 8, but Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine. Instead, he did the Daniel fast, which is a lot like a vegetarian fast. But in that way, it would have been dishonoring God because it was given with the intent of worshiping the king. Daniel knew what he valued, so he pre-decided. So you have to come down to, what do you value? Do you value integrity? Do you value faithfulness? Do you value purity, generosity? What do you value? First, you have to value God's word. You have to value God's commands. But you have to value, what do you value? If you value something that is not God honoring, it's not even a value. When your values are clear, when you know the decisions that you have to make, your decisions are easier. When your values are clear, your decisions are easier. Based on what you value, decide now what you will do later. When I come into X situation, I have pre-decided that I will do this. I don't know if you realize, but our decisions are rarely isolated. Our decisions determine our direction, and our direction determines our destiny. I remember there was someone in school, we're all studying to be pastors, in this class, and there was one kid, he said, oh, I can cheat. I don't mind cheating off of people. Like, I'll cheat on the test, I'll do that, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to do that after college. What happened after college? He got involved with a relationship he shouldn't have, and he started cheating. He started doing these things that were not honoring to God. If your life is moving in the direction of your decisions, do you like the direction your decisions are taking you? You have to take your time back and pre-decide to do something, because those decisions will take you further from God if they're not God-honoring decisions. Decisions won't be based on emotions in the moment, but on the values God has placed on your heart. I want to show you something. So first, I'm not a sneakerhead. I am not a sneakerhead, but I do like having shoes. But I want to use this to explain this whole sermon. So first, if I were to take this shoe out, it's a slide, a flip-flop, whatever you want to call it. If I were to take this out, where am I going? I'm going to the pool, or I'm going to the beach, or I'm just jumping in the truck real fast and I'm leaving. If I were to take this shoe out and I put this on and I'm getting ready to go, I got this dress shoe, I'm putting this on, I'm going to go somewhere formal, I'm going to wedding, funeral, ordination, anything like that. If I'm putting this shoe on, there's a purpose of where I'm going. If I put this casual running shoe on, it's my everyday shoe that I normally wear. If I put this on, I'm going to run errands, I'm doing my normal day-to-day stuff. If I put Crocs on, generic Crocs, $8, Dollar Tree, Dollar General. If I put these on, I'm going to be lazy. There's no purpose in me trying to get stuff done. I'm putting these on because I don't want to bend over and get something else. If I put these on, I'm probably going to be preaching. If I put these on, hopefully this doesn't happen for a long time. Just a side note, these are regular $150, got them for $20 as the store's going out of business. They're rated up to -40. Keep my Tootsies nice and warm in the winter. Hopefully we don't have winter for a long time, but if I put these on, I'm probably going to shovel snow, or I'm going to be snow blowing or doing something in the cold weather because they keep me warm. There's not a reason for me to wear these in the summer. Now, if I wear these shoes, these are my mowing shoes. They got grass all over them. Like, these are my mowing shoes. They're one-purpose shoes. These are my running shoes. If I'm doing these, I'm working out. These are my basketball shoes. If I am using these, I'm probably going to be walking, or I'm going to be playing basketball, something in a gym somewhere. So you think about this. If I had this basketball shoe, if I have this basketball shoe on, I'm deciding where I'm going and what I'm going to do with my day. If I put this basketball shoe on, there's not a chance that I'm going to a funeral that day if I'm putting these bright blue shoes on. If I put on running shoes, there's not a chance that I'm going to be doing construction in these shoes. If I go to put these boots on, there's not a chance that I'm going to be going to the beach in these. Like, each one of these shoes has a different purpose and a different way that it's going to take you in your decisions. If I wear these dress shoes, I'm not going to the gym because I would be uncomfortable. I would have blisters. I don't like wearing these that much because they're not super comfortable. But as I'm talking about the shoes, I just want to show you my shoe collection. But when I'm talking about shoes, the one that you put on, you're pre-deciding what you're going to do that day. You are already deciding. So we think about this in a spiritual sense. If you're putting on a shoe, there's a decision that's going to take you in. If you are already tempted by getting on the computer, and you're like, I'm going to get on the computer anyway and just do something else, you are pre-deciding to put yourself in that temptation. If you are wanting to not eat fast food and you're just like, I just want to go for a drive and just smell Applebee's and Cheddar's and I just want to smell it. Like, you're putting yourself in temptation. You're pre-deciding what you're probably going to do. Because again, when you make that decision, you're probably not going to do the other decision. But you have to pre-decide what you're going to do. If I'm not going to go eat fast food, I don't need to get in the car. Because if I stay at home, I'm more likely to actually make something to eat. But the good news is, we're not saved by the quality of our decisions, but we're saved by the grace of God. Jesus pre-decided. He says, not my will, but yours be done. Not my will. If you could take this cup from me, that I don't have to be crucified on a cross and go through this death, I want to do that. But if that's not your will, he was pre-deciding that whatever God's will was, he was going to follow. Proverbs again. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. With God's help, we will pre-decide. We will determine the course of action before the moment of decision to make the best, God-honoringest decision that we can make.